You know, with so much drama in the LBC, it's kinda hard being Snoop D-O-G-G. But I somehow, someway, keep coming up with funky ass shit like every day. Now, may I kick a little something for the G's? So I don't really understand why the 6.5 diesel gets so much hate, but it does. I guess I want to talk about a few of the points that people would reference when saying that they have a dislike for the 6.5, and then I'll give my opinion on how I think it can be fixed. Because I think it's a damn good engine. I think it runs good, it sounds really good, it's smooth, it's quiet for what it is. The multi-fuel thing is pretty cool. You can run it on prior oil and used motor oil. There's a lot of engines you can do that with. So I guess the first big issue that it's been my concern before on plenty of occasions when I go to buy one or a friend's looking at one or I have to work on one, I always look at the starter because the starter bolt holes can be a real pain in the ass. And basically they took the same starter that they used on a small block Chevy and put it on a 6.5 with 2 bolts. That's a great idea. There's a bracket that helps hold it to the block, and most people, when they change the starter, since it's like such a pain in the ass to get your hand up there and change that bracket, nobody ever puts that bracket back on. But that little bracket looks like it's not important because it's little, but it's super important. You have to have that bracket, because if you throw that bracket in the trash, you will soon enough throw the engine in the trash. It's just the way that it goes. Every time I see a marketplace ad and they say that it needs a starter, that just means that it's junk. It could be 5 minutes down the road and I'm probably not even going to waste my time. A 6.5 that needs a starter needs a whole nother 6.5. I'm going to need to go ahead and edit this back in because I didn't remember it until later, so I need to put it back. But on the subject of the starter, even if the starter fell off, your 6.5 isn't trash. Leroy Diesel makes a starter relocation bracket that puts looks like a gear reduction starter for an IDI with no nose cone. I could be wrong, but that's what it looks like it is. There's a plate that adapts in between the engine and the transmission bell housing that hold a billet bracket that holds a starter. So even if the starter breaks off the block, there's an answer for that. I'm not sponsored by anybody or anything, but I will tell you that if your starter does break off and you want to save that engine, the Leroy starter relocation kit is the way to go, all the way. Totally solved, never have an issue. I've been using that starter for a year and a half. I cold start with ether, no glow plugs, because I ain't about fixing wiring. Anybody got time for that? So I just beat on that starter and it's fine. So the next big problem that everybody experiences issues with, I've also experienced issues with it, is the electronic injection pump, the DS4. The PMD is labeled as a problem if you Google the problems that are with it, but the DS4 and the PMD, all of that shit just runs together in my book. The best thing that you can do to fix a DS4, if it's not in good working order, take it off and put a mechanical DB2 pump on it. Now, even if you take a mechanical one off of a 6.2, the rev limiter is going to be dropped, but it's a lot more foolproof. I would sacrifice horsepower for reliability any day. I do have a daily driver truck that has a DS4 injection pump and a PMD with a cooler mounted, and it's in the driver's side fender well, away from the heat, and that truck runs fine. And I'm not going to tear it apart if there's nothing wrong with it. But I'm certainly not going to tune in and expect a whole bunch out of it, because that is the job for a 4911 DB2. So the next issue with these that I would say is the lift pump. On the 6.2, there's a mechanical lift pump on the side of the block. It's just trash. And then the stock 6.5 has a little clicky-clack lift pump inside the frame up underneath the driver's side floorboard, and it's also junk. Now, both of them do work. If you're going to daily drive something and you put a new pump in, it'll probably be fine for a little bit. But if you want your 6.5 to do extra diesel stuff, you're going to need to upgrade your lift pump. And I don't mean put one of these little rotary lift pumps from Amazon that look like the Carter. Yeah, it looks like a Carter lift pump. I've tried those, and you get stock results and a really loud lift pump. And if you put a fast lift pump on any 6.5 with any pump, it will wake it up. It'll run a lot cleaner, a lot healthier. It loves fuel volume. And on the subject of fuel volume, I usually just delete the stock fuel filter housing because I don't like it. It has a 1/4-inch bar for the in and the out, and that's just not enough. I like to run 3/8 line with a standalone filter setup and a fast. So the last but not least problem that I'd like to talk about, it's kind of 2 issues that kind of fall under the same issue. The block and the crank. The reason I'm putting these into the same category for breakage is because either way, the motor is toast. If you break the crank, you're taking the block with it. If you break the block, you're taking the crank with it. You see what I'm saying? So the earlier 6.5s, the 506 block, I believe, was real prone to cracking at the main webs where the main caps bolt on. And then when that would go, of course, now there's nothing holding your crankshaft, and your crankshaft will just bust in half. And then also the harmonic balancer would go bad, which that's an easy thing to keep an eye on. I've seen the fluid damper, which I know everybody stands by it, and if you want to build something and not have to mess with it, I would suggest that, highly suggest that. You just keep an eye on your stock harmonic balancer. Whenever yours gets just a little wobbly, starts doing one of these, you see what I'm saying? Go to the parts store, get another one. They're like $96, and they should last at least 50,000 miles. Every 4 or 5 oil changes, just take a real good long look at it while it's running if you can. And that solves your harmonic balancer issue. So I've heard through the grapevine that I'm not the only guy that can blow a head gasket in a 6.5. A lot of people have issues with the cooling systems on these, and the way that I would suggest that you fix that is a dual thermostat housing. Whether you're running a mechanical or an electronic injection pump, it's not going to want to fit very good with the mechanical injection pump. You have to modify some of the throttle linkage to get it in there. But it's totally worth it to have an engine that's cool. And to fix the head gasket problem, what I do personally on my vehicles when I put them together is I buy 10 thousandths over Fel-Pro head gaskets, and I use ARP head studs. Now, the reason I use the 10 thou over head gaskets is because I'm going to be mashing the head gasket pretty good. Because I believe the stock head bolt torque specification for the 6.5 is like 90 foot-pounds, 95 maybe. It's not very many. And I usually go to about 115 or 120 with head studs. And just kind of cross my fingers, hope for the best, you know what I mean? Alright, ladies and gentletards, that's going to conclude this video. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, all that other YouTube stuff. If you're a 6.5 guy, you're in the right spot. You know what I mean? Rolling down the street, smoking endo, sipping on gin and juice.